Today I am talk about very important topic. Listen me till the end. Have you ever met a woman who seemed completely uninterested in you? And no matter what you did, no matter how kind you were, how available you made yourself, how clearly you showed her you cared, she just didn't feel it. And the more you tried, the further she drifted. Until one day she was completely gone, and you were left wondering what was wrong with you. I want you to sit with that for a second, because I know exactly what that feels like. You did everything right by the rule book you were given. You were consistent. You were honest. You showed up. And it still didn't work. That's not bad luck. That's not a character flaw. That's something far more specific and far more fixable than you've been told. I'm your host, and this is Teal Swan Advice, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. Not the surface level stuff, not the manipulation tactics, but the deep, honest science of what actually moves a woman emotionally. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share changes the way you see every interaction you've ever had. And I'll warn you now, the final trigger I'll walk you through is incredibly powerful. It can change everything fast. Almost no one uses it correctly. Most men have no idea it even exists. But once you understand it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the truth nobody told you. When a woman says she's not interested, she's not making a final logical decision. She's reporting her current emotional state. That's it. She is telling you how she feels right now in this moment, based on the signals her subconscious has already processed. Not based on your resume, not based on how good a person you are, based on invisible cues she absorbed before you even finished your first sentence. This was never your fault. Nobody taught you this. You were taught that attraction works like a job application. Show your qualities, be reliable, demonstrate your value through effort. And if a woman doesn't respond, try harder, work more, be better. That model is completely backwards, and it's been costing you deeply without you even knowing why. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Female attraction is not a choice. It is a biological response. Millions of years of evolution have wired women to respond to specific emotional and energetic signals. Signals that communicate one core message to the deep subconscious brain. This man is worth moving toward. These signals have nothing to do with your salary, your appearance, or how many compliments you give her. They are patterns, primal ones. And when you understand how to embody them naturally, something shifts. You stop chasing, and she starts noticing. The brain is running shortcuts constantly. Psychologists call them heuristics. When a woman meets a man, her subconscious is scanning in milliseconds, not for perfection, for patterns. Patterns that trigger safety, curiosity, and desire simultaneously. Most men accidentally trigger only one or none, but when you start sending the right signals in the right sequence, her nervous system does something it can't fake. It leans in. Let me walk you through the exact triggers that create this. 7 of them, each one a layer, and together they build something irresistible. Not through deception, but through authentic transformation, real tools, not tricks. The first is masculine presence, not looks, not height, not money. Presence, grounded energy. The quality of being completely here, completely settled, completely unbothered. A man with presence walks into a room and doesn't scan for approval. He doesn't check to see if she noticed him. He simply is. That groundedness, the calm behind the eyes, the slowness of movement, the weight in the voice, communicate something ancient to a woman's brain. It says, "This man is not afraid. Man is not, and safety mixed with strength is one of the most compelling combinations a human being can feel." Here's what this looks like in practice. You're talking to her and you're not leaning in. You're not rushing your sentences to fill silence. You're comfortable. You pause. You smile when something is genuinely funny, not performatively. You make eye contact without holding on too hard. You are at ease with yourself. That ease is presence, and presence alone can shift her entire read of you in 60 seconds. You don't have to become someone else. You have to become more fully yourself. The second trigger is emotional challenge. Women are not attracted to men who agree with everything they say. That's not intimacy. It's a mirror, and mirrors are boring. Emotional challenge is the polarity between two real people who push each other playfully. A light tease, a raised eyebrow, a moment where you gently disagree and hold your position. Not to be difficult, but because you have opinions, and you're not abandoning them just to make her comfortable. This is the difference between a man she finds sweet and a man she can't stop thinking about. When you challenge her with warmth, with humor, with intelligence, her brain produces a small hit of cortisol followed by dopamine. Mild tension, then relief. It's the same mechanism as a good story. Conflict, then resolution. She becomes emotionally invested without even knowing why. You're at dinner and she says something you mildly disagree with. Instead of nodding, you say, "I actually see that completely differently, but, and here's why." Then you explain, calmly, with a smile. That moment creates polarity, and polarity creates pull. Agreement is forgettable. Polarity is magnetic. The third trigger is selective attention. This one dismantles a myth most men have lived by their entire adult lives. The myth that more attention equals more attraction. It doesn't. More attention equals less mystery. Less mystery equals less desire. It's not complicated, but it runs counter to everything you've been trained to do. Selective attention means you have a full life and she is a valued part of it, not the center of it. You respond to her messages, but not instantly every time. You make plans with her, but you also have plans she's not part of. You're genuinely interested in her, but you're also genuinely interested in your own goals, your friendships, your purpose. That fullness communicates scarcity. And humans, by nature, want what they cannot fully possess. Think about it this way. When you walk into a restaurant and every table is empty, you feel nothing. When you walk in and there's one table left, you want it immediately. Availability without restraint removes desire. Strategic scarcity creates it. Your presence in her life should feel like a reward she earns, not a given she can take for granted. If this is making sense so far, hit subscribe and join the Teal Swan Advice community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught, and it means everything to be building this with you. Now, let's go deeper. The fourth trigger is intentional listening. Most men hear women. Very few actually listen. And women know the difference in their bones. Intentional listening is not just staying quiet while she talks. It is absorbing what she says, storing it, and bringing it back when she least expects it. It is emotional seeing, the act of making someone feel genuinely witnessed. Here's what this looks like. She mentions in passing 3 conversations ago that she's nervous about a presentation at work. The next day, without prompting, you ask how it went. Not because you're running a strategy, but because you were actually paying attention. That simple act, that recall, hits something deep in the female brain. It says, "I matter to this man, not because he's trying to impress me, but because he actually sees me." Women are surrounded by men performing interest. A man who actually has it is rare. Be that man. Small details remembered. That's the whole move. The fifth trigger is calibrated vulnerability. This is where most men either shut down completely or overcorrect into emotional dumping. Neither works. Calibrated vulnerability is the precise balance, sharing something real, something true, something that costs you a little to say, without collapsing into victimhood or expecting her to carry it. It sounds like this. I've been thinking about this thing lately, about what I actually want my life to look like in 5 years, and it's been uncomfortable to sit with. That's it. A window, not a flood. You open something. You let her in briefly with dignity, and then you moved on. When a man shares something honest without needing to be rescued, it creates a very specific kind of trust. She sees your depth without feeling burdened by it. She becomes curious about what else lives in that interior world of yours. Curiosity is the engine of desire. Strength isn't silence. Strength is knowing what to share and when. The sixth trigger is gradual physical touch. Touch is one of the most direct pathways to oxytocin, the bonding neurochemical. But it only works when it's earned gradually, and when it feels safe and intentional. Not aggressive, not absent, gradual. Start small. A brief touch on the shoulder when you're both laughing, a hand on the lower back as you guide her through a doorway. These micro moments of contact offered with calm and never lingered on too long. Do something subtle and powerful. They normalize physical connection between you. They build a physical map in her nervous system. One that associates you with warmth, with safety, with a particular kind of calm electricity. The men who do this well are never grabby. They're never eager. They touch and release. touch and release. Shh, like punctuation in a sentence. Brief, purposeful, and unforgettable. One light, well-timed touch communicates more than an hour of words. And now, the seventh, the one I warned you about. Controlled unpredictability. This is the most misunderstood concept in male-female dynamics and the most powerful. Let me explain exactly what it is and what it is not, because the line matters. The human brain is wired for pattern recognition. When something becomes entirely predictable, the brain stops paying attention to it. It's called habituation. It's why you stop hearing the hum of your refrigerator. It's why a relationship that starts with electricity can quietly become invisible. Predictability over time kills desire. Controlled unpredictability is the intentional introduction of just enough variation to keep her nervous system engaged. Not confusion, not hot and cold game playing, not emotional whiplash. Variation. The kind that creates a mild, pleasant uncertainty. Will he text me today? What will he suggest this time? What will he think of this? And that uncertainty, when and is warm and safe and grounded in genuine interest, produces dopamine. Dopamine is the molecule of anticipation, of reward prediction, of craving. When a woman is slightly unsure what you'll do next, not because you're unreliable, but because you're genuinely interesting and dimensional, she starts to think about you in your absence. That's the thing. Desire doesn't live in the moments you're together. Desire lives in the space between. Here's what this looks like. You've been texting regularly. One day you send her something completely unexpected. A book recommendation, a photograph you thought she'd find beautiful, a voice note instead of a text. Not because you planned it, because you're living a full life and you thought of her genuinely in the middle of it. That's the move. It's not about being inconsistent. It's about being interesting enough that she can never fully predict you. A man she can map completely holds no mystery. A man with depth always has another room. Now, let's talk about who you are after this. Because here's the thing, the man who understands these 7 triggers doesn't just have better conversations with women. He becomes a different man entirely. He walks differently. He listens differently. He occupies his own life with a new kind of intentionality. Not for performance, but because he finally understands that everything he does is a signal. Everything is communication. And when you start communicating from a place of genuine value, genuine presence, genuine interest in your own life and in the people you meet, and the whole dynamic shifts. Women don't just notice you more. They approach you differently. They remember you. They come back to the conversation. They wonder about you. You don't need to be perfect. You never did. You just needed a map and now you have one. These are not tricks. There is no manipulation here. Every single one of these triggers works because it reflects something true. Presence, depth, emotional attunement, physical warmth, genuine interest, honest vulnerability, dimensional mystery. When you embody these things, you are not performing attraction. You are becoming genuinely attractive. That is a completely different thing, and it's one of the most important distinctions a man can ever make. The version of you who walked into this video was looking for a fix. The version of you leaving it understands the architecture. And architecture lasts, strategy compounds. Every conversation from here on out is a chance to practice one of these layers, quietly, without announcing it, without even thinking about it too hard. Just start. Start with presence. Start with listening. Start with one moment of calibrated vulnerability this week. The rest builds itself. You don't need her to validate you. You need to become a man you genuinely respect. And ironically, when you do that, when you stop needing her approval and start working on your own depth, that's the exact moment she starts to feel it. That pull, that curiosity, that inexplicable lean. You were never broken. You were just untaught. And now you're not. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to Teal Swan Advice now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality again. Like and subscribe must.